The moment Emily's words pierced through me, I managed to control my facial expression and return to a serious look. She said in a stern tone,
"There's no reason for you to be in this house anymore. You are a stranger, so please leave."
Skyla was shocked by her words, but I responded calmly. "I see, understood. I will leave." My response seemed to be unexpected, as Emily showed a surprised expression. Jake also chimed in.
"Then, do you intend to leave all your property behind as well? Is that okay with you?"
I answered confidently, "Yes, of course." I responded with a bright smile to his next words. Everything was going as planned, and it was convenient for me to follow along with what I was being told. "I will get ready right away." As I left the scene, the sister-in-law and her husband had expressions of surprise and confusion on their faces. I am Skyla. I work in the administrative department of a construction company, and I married John, a friend from high school. Since getting married, I have been helping out with his family's business. John manages a store that's open 6 days a week, and he is loved by both family and customers. We have been living happily, and we feel that this decision is the best choice for us. John's parents have been very caring and tolerant of us as a young couple. They understood that we were newlyweds, and instead of having us live in their house that also serves as a store, they respected our wish to live alone. And so, following the birth of our daughter 2 months ago, we consulted with both of our families numerous times and eventually decided to move into John's parents' restaurant, Cafe A. I requested 6 months of maternity leave from work, and John and I packed the necessary belongings to move to his parents' house. When we arrived at Cafe A, John's father, Harley, welcomed us with a smile.
"Skyla, John, welcome back. It's good to see you, Charlotte."
Holding our daughter Charlotte in our arms, we expressed our gratitude for his warm welcome. "Thank you for accepting us so kindly. We are grateful for your hospitality." John's mother, Alyssa, also greeted us with a smile.
"It's fine. Just take your time and relax here until you can return to work. Emily has left home, and it's nice for us to have a lively house again."
I bowed my head to show my appreciation. Emily is John's younger sister, and I heard she moved out after getting married and has been working elsewhere. I only had a brief interaction with her at the wedding, but she seemed lively and cheerful. "How is Emily doing? I haven't seen her since the wedding. Is she doing well?" I asked. While shrugging her shoulders, Alyssa spoke in this manner.
"Well, yes, she does contact us, but she rarely replies back, and when she does come home, she just eats and leaves right away. That's just how kids are, isn't it?"
While I empathized with Alyssa's words, John also smiled bitterly in amusement. John is a serious and responsible person, which contrasts with me. On the other hand, our amiable daughter, Charlotte, quickly became attached to her grandparents, and she seemed to be having an especially good time today. Flashing a crinkled smile during our conversation, Harley gently smiled at Charlotte while saying,
"But now that we have such a cute daughter, you must be more motivated, right?"
Then Harley lightly patted John on the shoulder, extending his hand with a smile. John nodded in agreement and responded,
"That's right. She's still so small and cute. I have to work even harder from now on."
John's expression as he smiled at our daughter Charlotte was filled with love and a sense of responsibility. Thus, our life living together with the in-laws began. John was pleased that his commute was shorter, and he cherished the additional time he could spend with his family. He also enjoyed watching Charlotte grow during the off hours of the store. This new life seemed to be becoming very fulfilling for us. I started to take on more responsibilities within the household, such as preparing meals in the morning and evening and cleaning both inside and outside of the store. However, during lunch breaks, Alyssa would prepare warm meals for everyone, offering a lavish treat that we could enjoy during our child care breaks. Harley and the others seemed satisfied with our life as well. He said with a smile,
"I'm happy that I can see my grandchild's face every day."
And Charlotte seemed to be enjoying her days surrounded not just by us, but also by her grandparents. We were also able to receive advice from the experienced parents, which helped us feel at ease every day. We were truly grateful for these happy days. However, about 3 months after we moved in, an unforeseeable tragedy struck us. In the afternoon, John was out on a delivery for a takeout order riding his motorbike. He collided head-on with a truck that entered the curve at high speed, was blown away by the impact, and although he was rushed to the hospital, he never returned. That day, I took Charlotte for a walk to the nearby park, combining it with a bit of shopping. Suddenly, I received a call from Alyssa. Hearing the tragic news, I collapsed right there on the spot. I desperately called a taxi, but my mind was somewhere far away, almost unable to accept the reality. When the taxi arrived at the hospital and I told the receptionist my name with a trembling voice, Harley and Alyssa were quietly waiting in the room I was guided to. With tears streaming down my face, I managed to speak out. Why? Hey, why? In front of me lay my husband, who would never open his eyes again. I was struck dumb, unable to cry or speak. Harley quietly rubbed my shoulder, offering words of comfort.
We just got here too. Right now, it's just unbelievable. We can't sort out our feelings yet.
Alyssa, overwhelmed by guilt, spoke up.
It should have been me. I should have gone in John's place. I'm sorry, John.
Harley gently responded to her words.
What are you talking about? This isn't about someone replacing someone else. If you were gone, John, me, and Skyla would all feel the same sadness.
Alyssa sincerely apologized.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Harley kindly spoke.
It's okay. Right now. All we can do is grieve and accept it.
I watched Alyssa, her eyes hollow and filled with tears, and saw Harley comforting her. Only Charlotte, not understanding the situation, was looking back and forth at our grief-stricken faces. Usually, her adorable gestures would be heartwarming, but just for now, it was too painful to watch. Later on, the funeral and farewell ceremony were held with only close family members present. Family and friends gathered to say their final goodbyes to John. Our parents, who had rushed over from region, were also deeply shocked to reunite with John and the other relatives under such tragic circumstances. This heartbreaking situation turned our reunion bittersweet. Amidst this tragedy, I also reunited with Emily, John's sister. Her husband, Jake, was with her. Even though it had been a long time since we last met, the situation made it impossible to feel any joy from our reunion.
Skyla,
I responded with a smile, Emily, long time no see. I nodded in greeting to the couple who had approached me during the meal. She continued,
we were originally planning to move back here, but we decided to move up our plans. We thought it would be a good timing since you, Skyla, still have kids to raise, and it would be tough for you to help out at the family store while raising them.
Surprised, I responded, really? But are you both sure about this? You both have your jobs. Is it okay to move so far away? Jake answered.
Emily decided to quit her part-time job and work at the family store. I can commute by car, so it's not a problem for me. We were originally planning to move back here anyway, and since John passed away, the store has been managed by Harley and Alyssa.
His words made sense to me. The operation of the family store must have been tough after John's departure. This decision was a relief for us as well, and I accepted their offer with gratitude. However, as they were getting on in years and their physical strength was declining, managing the store by themselves was proving to be difficult, especially during the busy lunch hours when customers were constantly coming in. Therefore, we had to limit the number of customers in the store to handle the rush. Even though I wanted to help out, since little Charlotte was too young to be left at daycare, Harley and Alyssa only had their hands free during their lunch break. If I helped out at the store, there would be no one to take care of Charlotte, so the return of Emily and her family was a great relief.
The store isn't that big, and it would really help if Skyla could take care of Charlotte.
I humbly replied, thank you so much. That would be really helpful. Jake and his family were planning to move right after the memorial service, and I planned to thank them properly then. After the memorial service, Emily and Jake returned as promised. I greeted them with a smile, but the days that followed were significantly different from what we had imagined.
Skyla, can you clear these plates? And then, please take care of the checkout.
As a waitress, I was bustling around the restaurant, fully engaged in the hustle and bustle of the afternoon. I took orders, carried dishes, and served customers with a smile, embodying a sense of pride and responsibility as a professional. Hello, welcome. Please wait a moment, I would say, even in the busiest moments, always mindful to provide polite service to the customers. Meanwhile, Emily preferred spending quiet time in her room since she moved in. Starting a new life with her husband, Jake, was a big change for her, and she was carrying the sorrow of suddenly losing John, so it was understandable that she needed time to sort out her feelings. Furthermore, to return the kindness that her in-laws had shown her, I was considering continuing to help out at the store. However, as the days turned into weeks, Emily still had not appeared at the store. Instead, she was spending her days absorbed in TV and her smartphone, barely doing any housework. Jake was busy with his job as a salaryman, coming home late every night, making it difficult for him to rely on Emily. The only consolation was that Emily at least ensured Charlotte's safety to a minimum extent. However, there was no active engagement like playing or feeding her milk. She was really just watching her. In this new life, how will the relationships between Skyla, Emily, and Jake evolve? Harley and Alyssa, perhaps out of a sense of parental duty, frequently showed dissatisfaction with the current situation, especially Alyssa, who harshly addressed Emily several times.
I told you it's okay to take a break for a while, but aren't you embarrassed to leave everything to Skyla?
These words directed at Emily did not lead to a solution, although I showed an attitude of protecting her. Emily's attitude remained unchanged, and the days of pushing work onto me continued. Under these circumstances, I had to leave the store frequently to check on Charlotte, who was on the second floor of their residence. I could spend time with Charlotte during lunch breaks when food was prepared for her, but such luxuries were not allowed during the night shifts. Arrangements were necessary to ensure Charlotte's safety even in my absence. One day, amidst the hustle and bustle, I found herself compelled to ask Emily about her condition. Was she feeling unwell or was there some other issue? My concern grew too much and I ended up asking Emily, despite her usual outings. It was rare for Emily to complain about her health and there were no clear reasons for her condition. Naturally, I was worried, but Emily just shook her head nonchalantly in response to the question, without providing any details. Deep down, I wished Emily would help her more. I intended to hold back a little, but my true feelings spilled out. On a busy afternoon in the store, I was running around as a waitress. Since moving in, Emily had continued to spend most of her time in her room. Maybe she needed time to sort out her feelings, as starting a new life with Jake and dealing with John's sudden loss was not easy. However, it was not that I didn't understand why Emily was here. I also wanted to repay the kindness and help out at the store. But as days turned into weeks, Emily still hadn't appeared at the store. Instead, she immersed herself in TV and her smartphone, neglecting housework. Jake, swamped with his job, would come home and go straight to bed, making it hard to rely on him. The only consolation was that Emily was at least ensuring Charlotte's minimal safety. However, there was no active engagement. She was really just watching Charlotte. As I juggled childcare, work, and household chores, I felt increasingly cornered. And then one day, I found myself in a situation where I had no choice but to ask Emily. The days continued with Emily going out, and I was increasingly in need of help. Despite her hesitation, I finally asked Emily if she was feeling unwell. I couldn't understand why Emily kept going out. I was secretly hoping for an excuse from Emily. However, Emily's response was unexpected. She simply shook her head, indicating that there was no issue with her health. I was confused and troubled, unable to understand Emily's attitude. Emily's actions and words became more and more incomprehensible, leading me to harbor doubts. That's why I decided to stay here for at least another month, until the end of my maternity leave. I had obtained approval from Harley and Alyssa for this period, and I was aware that this was an opportunity for me to repay their kindness. However, this decision stemmed from a strong desire to express my gratitude to John and his family. Harley said,
Don't worry about it. It's fine as long as you're here.
Which made me happy. However, I also understood Emily's point that we can't stay here forever. So, I decided to stay another month as a preparation period for returning to work and to express my gratitude. I think this period is just right for both of us. That's true. If my presence and Charlotte's are really a bother, I sincerely apologize and I will leave next month. However, that's a separate matter from helping out at the store. Wouldn't your parents be relieved if Emily helped out at the store? I asked. After John's death, the burden on his parents increased, and managing the store became increasingly difficult. Despite understanding this, I had doubts about Emily's attitude. Emily argued back.
I am taking care of Charlotte, aren't I?
I, with a light tone, responded, You don't have to put it that way. I need to get back. The night shift is starting. As I left the room, a big doubt remained in my heart. I understood that Emily's attitude was not changing, but I was curious about the reasons and what might be behind it. As I began preparing for the night shift, I realized that the atmosphere in the store was different from before. Something was off, but I couldn't figure out what, making me feel uneasy. As the business opened, I immersed myself in customer service, interacting with regulars and new visitors alike. However, deep inside, I couldn't stop thinking about Emily, repeatedly going over her words and demeanor. In the midst of this, Jake came to the shop. He had left work earlier than usual and mentioned he had something to talk about with me.
Skyla, I need to talk to you.
After the night shift ended, I went upstairs and found Jake waiting for me. Yes, what's up? I asked anxiously. With a serious expression, Jake continued.
I heard from Emily. Did you embezzle the mutual aid funds from John, as well as money from your in-laws? I thought you were working hard for the sake of the shop, but I'm beyond angry. I'm appalled.
I was at a loss for words. What? Jake's face was expressionless, but his eyes were filled with deep resentment. Despite my longing gaze, wanting to know if his accusation was true, Jake said nothing. His silence spoke volumes, indicating a grave matter. Quietly, Skyla retorted, "You're wrong. I've been putting the living expenses from my own wallet into the household." However, Jake's anger showed no signs of subsiding and only intensified.
If that's the case, why would Emily need to lie about something like that? Are you intending to make not just John, but your father-in-law and mother-in-law sad as well?
Words failed me again, and I couldn't comprehend why Jake was acting this way. He hadn't shown such emotions during the funeral, and I was baffled by the current situation. Desperately trying to explain herself, I said, "That's not true. I swear on the trust that Harley and Alyssa have placed in me, nothing of that sort has happened." Yet Jake's anger did not subside. As I argued back, trying to defend myself, the situation escalated. Emily, unable to control her anger any longer, screamed out loud in rage.
There's no reason for you to be in this house anymore. You're a stranger now. Leave.
I was shocked by this statement, but I quickly regained my composure. "Oh, is that so? Then I will leave as you wish." Emily was surprised by Skyla's reaction, and Jake continued.
Then leave all the property behind. That's okay with you, right?
I smiled and answered cheerfully, "Yes, of course." I was ready to take this step and even welcomed the suggestion. "I will prepare everything right away," I declared. At that moment, expressions of surprise and bewilderment appeared on the faces of those around me. However, I didn't mind their reactions and left the scene. After I left, Harley's voice echoed from behind.
Emily, I heard everything.
His voice was filled with anger, highlighting Emily's surprise and fear. Leaving the scene was to call out Harley and Alyssa, who had just finished preparing for the next day. Harley, furious, came up the stairs and, upon seeing Emily, raised his voice in anger.
The mutual aid funds from John are supposed to go to his spouse, Skyla, and his daughter, Charlotte. That's perfectly natural. What is the problem with that?
But this person is no longer related to us since my brother is gone. Why are we keeping her in the house?
Emily desperately retorted. Harley's statement was firm, showing his determination, yet it also revealed his deep worries.
Just to be clear, she used her savings from when she was working to contribute to our living expenses. We're letting her stay here as a thank you for helping out at the shop. In fact, we're grateful. What about you? You rely on Jake for living expenses. Don't work, don't help, and don't even look after Charlotte. You go out and just play around. I understand that things have been tough since John's gone, but you should have at least helped out at the shop with us. And yet, what is this that you're saying? You must have come back, instigated by Jake, thinking you'd get a share of John's mutual aid funds.
Surprised by Harley's words, Emily's face showed her astonishment, and Jake was equally stunned. Harley's words were an unexpected turn for everyone present, pointing out a grave reality. And then, Alyssa added her thoughts.
We were happy that Skyla came back to us out of concern. I was pleased along with your father. But not only do you do nothing, you even try to drive Skyla out. It's heartbreaking for me, as a mother.
Alyssa's words were an important point about family ties and love, and they touched my heart as well. Harley's words were filled with deep sorrow and anger. He sternly added,
Do you have any idea how hard it is to raise a child? And on top of that, to work while raising a daughter without her father. How can you lack so much imagination? What kind of person are you?
His words reflected his disappointment in Emily, highlighting the harsh realities of their family situation without John. And then, with resolution, Harley continued,
There is no room or house here for you to stay. Needless to say, I have no intention of being involved as a parent or providing support from now on. Leave this house.
Emily protested against Harley's stern words.
Wait, Dad. Are you taking the side of a woman who's practically a stranger over your own daughter?
But Harley stood his ground firmly.
Skyla is like a daughter to us. You big fool. You should be the one to leave.
Emily became even more emotional, her face wet with tears as she retorted,
What is it with you? You have nothing to do with John anymore, but you still take her side. What more do you want to do by getting in Dad's good graces?
I had been silently listening to this argument, but my anger surged when John's name was brought up. What more do you expect me to do? I just wanted to cherish and raise the daughter I had with John. I just wanted to express my gratitude for all the kindness I've received. Yet, where's the need for me to get on your father-in-law's good side? Do you think you're in a position to speak when you didn't do anything for us? Emily gasped for breath. She alternately looked at her in-laws and herself, trembling. She then raised her voice and said,
I'll return your words from earlier right back at you. Don't suck up to your father anymore.
Against these words, Jake quietly opened his mouth to speak.
Emily, let's go outside. I have something to talk to you about.
Emily looked surprised and confused, but she agreed to go outside, following Jake's calm demeanor. I deeply bowed and expressed my gratitude. Thank you both so much. Harley and Alyssa nodded with smiles. Soon after, Jake decided to divorce Emily. He admitted his mistakes stemming from his anger and ignorance, and filed for divorce. He found a new place to live and decided to leave the business in the near future. As expected, Emily thought she had the right to receive the mutual aid funds that had been given to John. After successfully receiving the money and my departure, she planned to rely on Jake's relatives. However, as expected, she was not welcomed after the divorce and ended up having to stay in a cheap guest house. She couldn't get rehired at her previous part-time job and is said to be going through financially tough times. Once my maternity leave ended, I also decided to leave the business. I was called back home by my parents, but due to high expenses during maternity leave and the current situation, I decided to work hard at my current job for a while longer. Charlotte has made friends at the daycare she's attending and seems to be growing up well. I'm relieved. I still visit Cafe A about once every few months. Each time, I greet Harley and Alyssa, enjoy a delicious set meal, and pay my respects at John's memorial tablet. John, I wonder how you're doing. A lot has happened, but I'm doing well. I am supported by many people. And today was John's birthday. I gave him a cake, his favorite sponge cake from the past, and quietly hummed his favorite song. It might just be my imagination, but it felt like John in the portrait was smiling,